Okay. Hello everyone. So this will be the ninth presentation in CompTI security class SY0-601. So now let's click launch. Okay, so one, two, we're done with this. One, two, three, four, five, six, nine. So we will be discussing determining security vulnerabilities. So let's start. Okay. So yes, I would like to start again. Yes. Okay. So this module you will complete the following exercises. Exercise number one, security concern and vulnerabilities. Exercise number two, third-party risks. Exercise number three, improper or weak patch management. Exercise number four is impacts. So after completing this module, you should be able to open ports and services, analyze hosts on the network using analyzer. So after completing this module, you should have the further knowledge of uh, this information. So now it will take approximately 1 hour to complete this lab. Okay. So here are the following configurations that we will be using session. Okay. So exercise number one, security controls and vulnerabilities. Outside of human error, security flaws are vulnerables and primary reason for any security breach. For example, an internet-facing application with a kernel vulnerability is likely to be explored by a hacker. This exercises you will learn about different types of security concern and vulnerabilities. Okay. Okay, so we need to turn on the PLAB with 10 and then a PLAB tally. Cloud-based versus on-premise vulnerabilities. Fundamentally, a cloud infrastructure is identical to an on-premise infrastructure, except that you do not have any physical access to the machines. The type of security control that you can implement in an on-premise data center, you can implement it in the cloud as well. Over the years, an on-premise structure works out unless organizations choose new address security devices and applications. There needs to be continuous upgrades made over the endpoints, servers, applications, and network devices. Without continuous upgrades, organizations may have to leave the legacy infrastructure, mostly not supported by the vendors. What this means is when there are vulnerabilities, the organizations kind of patch them as there is no little support. This is not the case with the cloud services. There are continuous upgrades that come with a subscription you take. Because of the physical access on the on-premise data centers, there are more chances of unauthorized access networks or data centers. Data privacy may be an issue in the cloud as in your data control. How data is stored is not transparent in the cloud consumer. You can logically assign access to the data, but you cannot physically control them. Globality, the cloud service providers tend to keep infrastructure updated and focus on minimal or no vulnerabilities. However, you set up your network in cloud environment, it is responsible to keep it updated. Be it the operating systems or application need to secure your network. Azure Day attack exploits an unknown vulnerability and can only be discovered when new software is deployed. Let's assume a scenario recently one of your newly deployed application was attacked and the attacker was able to gain administrative access. The antivirus in the HIES deployed in server hosting, the application was not able to detect any suspicious files or malware. Azure D attacks impossible to detect as it exploits unknown vulnerabilities. Zero-day vulnerability is an example of an unknown threat. It's not known to an organization, but there is a high possibility that it may present in the applications that the organization uses. Unknown trust usually occurs because the attacker continue to find new methods to conduct attacks. Software typically has vulnerabilities, and most vulnerabilities are known and patched as a software vendor. However, other vulnerabilities are discovered and exploited in the most cases by different entities such as security researchers or hackers. The vulnerabilities are unknown to anyone, including the software vendors, and can be exploited. It's important to take note because the single reason of the vulnerability is not known yet. Okay. So task number one. So in order to limit the threat of third-day exploit, Microsoft runs security update email services that automatically send emails to the subscribers. So the outline security updates to Microsoft software. There are many reasons as why this helpful knowledge for security administrator, although it limits the attack surface with zero-day threats. So in this task, you will learn how to sign up the security email threats. So first, we need to okay. So after that, we need to click the Microsoft Edge on the taskbar. So after that, in the navigation bar, we need to type the following. Copy this link. Okay, so let's accept the cookies. So we're at the Microsoft Technical Security Navigation. So here you will be directed to the Microsoft Live login page. If you were to log using either a personal or professional email addresses, you have the option to sign up for the mailing list. With configurations. There can be several reasons why an operating system, application, or network appliance can suffer from a reconfiguration. Often, the vulnerability exists in operating system, an application, or even a network device due to the reconfigurations, which can be of different types. So, first of all, is the default settings. Often, an administrator would deploy the default configuration of settings in a system, application, or on a network. This type of configuration is also known as the out of the box, which is known to be weaker than the customized configurations. The vendors or operating system applications and network devices only use minimal security for ease of installation. However, it's the responsibility of an administrator to tweak the security systems to ensure that the operating system application or the network device does not suffer from configurations which can lead to its compromise. Okay, so next is the open permission. Whether your data is stored on on-premise data center or in the cloud, you would need to provide restrictive permissions. However, this does not happen often. An administrator user knowingly or unknowingly give permissions. For example, let's assume that you have the Linux system on which you have several confidential files. You simply assign 777 permissions on the file that contains confidential information. The 777 permissions provide everyone to read, write, and execute permissions. The owner of the file should have provided only relevant permissions such as read. So unsecured group accounts. Several administrators allows users to have administrative privileges in the system. For example, a user may simply log on the system with an administrator account. On the other hand, the root account may be used to log on to some administrators rather to create users account in Linux systems and allows user use the root account. So errors can be of different types, and there can be configuration errors in the system, or there can be programming and errors. Configuration errors can occur when you have made a change to the hardware or perform a software upgrade. So a key attack specifically on a web application is cross-site scripting, which is a type of attack where an attacker injects malicious script into the vulnerable web applications, thereby causing serious damage to applications. So next one is the weak encryption, whenever you are sharing or storing data, it's inappropriate to use a strong encryption method. In the past, there have been various incidents that need data compromised due to weak encryptions. For example, in a wireless network, wired equivalent privacy was initially used with wireless networks, but it can be easily cracked. It is no longer recommended for use. If you still go ahead and use it on your wireless networks, then someone with little hand skills can break it. Another example is Wi-Fi protected access points with access, which uses temporal key integer protocol 128 bit per packet to encrypt the network transmission using the TK8, which was the considered of a replacement to web, which is vulnerable and weaker to successor than WAP2. Unsecure protocols. Organizations often use unsecured protocols that lead to several attacks on infrastructure. Some of the key unsecured protocols are HTTP, Telnet, and SNMP. Legacy platforms. When an operating system or application completes its shelf life, it is then succeeded by a newer version. A vendor always recommends using the latest and newer version of an operating system and platform for several reasons, such as new features, better support for newer hardware, and fewer vulnerability in most cases. XP, it will either example Windows and support. XP, no, not mentioned. April 8, 2014. Windows 7 on January 14, 2020 naman. So task number 2, open cores and services. The Nmap and the nets.linux command enables you to discover open ports in the system. Using the nmap command, you can perform port scanning of a specific system or more than one system on the network. The nets.command command is a network information tool that can provide information about the network connection, routing tables, and much more. Okay, so step number 1, we'll move on to Ilan Kali. Okay, so step number 2, after a successful login, the desktop is displayed successfully. So, open natin ang terminal dito sa desktop. So, no protocol statistics. So, you can see the execute siya. Note that the S parameter shows per protocol statistics. Review the complete details, scroll up to the terminal window. So, step number 5, let's clear. With the active TCP connections, type the following command. Okay, so ito ang TCP connections. Step number 6, this command shows a TCP protocol active connections and the port is connected to. So step number 7, use the nmap command. Targeting the nmap. Okay, so the results as displayed, the output shows the open ports with the protocol. So ito. So step number 9 is clear. Can also list the services and their versions running on a system along with its operating system. Do this type the following. Okay, as a result of command, several running services and operating system have been detected. Okay, step number 11 is clear. So you can also scan for open ports on several systems at once. Command takes a few seconds to run display down. So check. Right. Exercise number 2, third-party risks. An organization may have a robust infrastructure, but if they are working with third parties, security can implement themselves in multi-folds. For example, despite having all security controls implemented, malware might trigger a third-party communication channel and creep into the network. Okay, so now we would be reading this. Vendor management. Almost all organizations works with one or more vendors. Along with the security of its network, an organization must ensure that the vendor who are connecting to its network are does not implement appropriate security controls, it could lead to a collapse of the network. Take an example of a Target Corporation, famous retail chain giant. In November 2013, one of the biggest security breaching data took place. The hacker not only got the hands of 110 million credit and debit card numbers, but they also managed to steal 11 gigabytes of data. The attack on Target was not due to its own mistake, but its vendor, Fazio Mechanical, which was a refrigerator contractor. It started with the consent of the target, Alicia Fazio Mechanical. One of the Fazio employees fell for a phishing email which made an entry point to the Citadel malware. Fazio was not using a full-fledged anti-malware software, and a free version of his software failed to detect the Citadel. After Citadel was activated and its payload released, it gained credentials of Fazio Mechanical on one of the target's portal known as Ariba, which was deployed on a server after connected with the internal network. It's believed that a vulnerability was exploited. The hackers were inside the network to get what they wanted. Okay. So next is supply chain. A supply chain network for an organization may simply introduce multiple entry points for a hacker. Consider the above given example of target, or Fazio Mechanical was the entry point into Target's network vendors. In terms of size and financial capability, are smaller than the organization in most cases. Therefore, the vendors may not have a robust and secure infrastructure, which is a focal point of the hacker. Outsource code development. Organization uh, organization outsource several types of work. Code development outsourcing is a common practice. However, just like supply chain, the vendor may have mechanisms after a process to check code security. Therefore, they may introduce several security vulnerabilities such as cross-site scripting, SQL injections. Organization outsourcing data storage. With the cloud revolution in recent times, organizations have started to move their infrastructure on off out of an on-premise data centers with the application and storage devices move with the cloud. However, the data in the cloud is a third party and has several security issues. There is always a concern about data privacy. You can have a strict and limited access to data, but since it's not residing within you, you don't have the control over it. You cannot be sure if someone at a call service provider is looking at your data or not. Another issue is that the location of your data resides can also be prone to malware attacks or other issues like outage of software failure. Although failures are noted to be minimal and well communicated with larger providers. Therefore, before you put your data into someone's storage, you need to ensure that the data remains secure. You also need to be aware of the security issue. Exercise number three, improper or weak patch management. In this exercise, you will learn about various types of improper management. Analyze holes on a network using Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer. So after completing this exercise, you will have the further knowledge of firmware, OS, and then applications. So we will be using BTC01 firmware. Each device has a firmware. Code the instruction to the hardware. Without this, modern devices will be impossible to run. Most often, firmware has also vulnerabilities that can be exploited to the extent that a device such as cell phone can be only controlled by the attacker. Another possibility that is existing vulnerabilities firmware can be also used for privileges escalation and to gain administrative access. From time to time, and when there are vulnerabilities discovered or new features added, vendors provide updated firmware through their website. Updating firmware not only improves the device functionality, but also help removing existing vulnerabilities. Firmware update kapag mag-update po. So next one, operating system. Just like firmware system, also critical. It is a known fact that no application or operating system is detect free and therefore there is an ongoing patches. Updates specifically on the Windows devices can be either manual or automated. In a manual process, the user has to use built-in features and Windows 10 or initiate update. In an automated process for a single user, Windows Update can be set automatically download updates on a network tools such as Windows Software Update Security. SUS can deploy patches. Large number of home users ignores updating their operating systems. Each Windows OS has the Windows Update functionality, which automatically detects available updates. This vulnerability is open, which can be exploited. For Windows 10 has several known vulnerabilities that needed to be patched. Some key vulnerabilities are those. Application operating system may not be directly exposed on the internet, but applications are. If there are vulnerabilities that may have not been patched, then it could be in danger. A mistake often by administrator or to patch operating systems, but not the applications. If an open vulnerability in the application is exploited, it could lead to various types of attacks such as privilege escalation on the operating system. So, task number one, open natin ang GitLab. Self-based analyzer is one of the products you can use in a Windows environment to span for multi updates and patches. This no longer support of Windows Server. In this task, Microsoft Baseline Analyzer will analyze source of the network to determine the so now let's connect to GitLab. We have GC01, this start button, and then select Microsoft Baseline. Select scan a computer, and number 4 starts. As the scan is completed, it shows that automatic system update services is not running on the host. This means that no updates are being installed on the host operating system. Also note that a CAP error that states the CAP file network would not be downloaded. So wait lang natin as it is loading pa. Okay, so now let's take a screenshot. Ibig sabihin, scan did not be completed one. So ibig sabihin, check na kung kailangan nating update. So size number 4 is impacts. Several impacts on an attack or on an individual or an organization. The impacts can be similar in nature, but the magnitude of attacks can differ from organization when you compare it in an individual. For example, data loss for an individual can be devastating. However, its impact on an organization is usually much larger. The data belonging on an organization is a larger world than the data of an individual. So, in the exercise, you will learn about the impact of an attack. After completing this exercise, you should have a further knowledge of data loss, data breach, data exfiltration, identity theft, financial, reputation, and then availability loss. So data loss. Data loss occurs when you lose the data either by losing a device or the storage of the device become non-functional or corrupt. For example, let's assume you have a critical data stored on a USB drive. While you're traveling to your office, you lose the USB drive. Another example of a system that contains several gigabytes of data and its hard drive crashes. When able to recover the data of the hard drive, there is no backup. This is also data loss. You may forget your mobile device such as smartphone somewhere or it may get stolen. Alternatively, the may crash or USB drive may stop working after user accidentally drops it. Such situations data loss occurs if you do not have copies of data elsewhere. It is important to note that any type of intentional or intentional data loss may be considered as data loss. Data theft, on the other hand, occurs when someone steals your data. This can be done by planting a malware system and stealing the data in the background. Data theft can be also occurred in data transmission. If you transfer a file over an encrypted channel, you can face data theft as the hacker can intercept the data. Data loss can occur due to various reasons. For example, server failures, human error, or it could be intentional. Usually, the loss cannot be compensated or recovered. Imagine an organization that has confidential files that were deleted by human error. If there is no backup of the confidential files, the organization is significantly at risk losing its business. Data breach. Data breach is one of the biggest threats in cloud computing. Data breach confidentiality, critical or personal data is stolen or accessed by unauthorized data. Data such as the user credential, credit card data details, social security number, and medical data can be accessed. It can only occur when the data is stored by a data center, security cloud servers, even though cloud service providers implement security methods to safeguard the data. A data breach may occur due to stealing or cracking users' password, exploiting the security flaw, or even exploiting a misconfiguration of cloud servers. Data exfiltration. Some Someone owns every piece of data. It could be individual or organization. The person who owns must not permit someone to copy or transfer files of the data from one place to another. However, when data copying, transfer, or even access data takes place without permission of the owner, it is known as data exploitation. Let us take an example of an organization that have several documents. If either it is inside or external entity gains access to the documents from permission, it is data exploitation. The process of the data exploitation can be either manual or automated. The manual process, a threat actor needs to physically access the system or copy or move the data. In the automated process, it's typically done using biomalware. Identity theft. Identity theft. Identity theft is the method of using someone's identity for malicious or purpose, malicious purpose or financial gain. This common practice to provide your identity for various purposes, such as to get credit card or to get passport. However, a threat actor gets access to personal information, including your name, address, and phone number, although it could be any information used to identify an individual. Threat actors could replicate the information to carry out identity theft. Financial, a security attack can either be an individual or an organization, target of financial gains for hackers. For example, you have stored your credit card details on a file on your system. The hacker, after attacking your system, can access this file. After getting credit card information, the hacker can use it on the internet site. You'll end up with financial losses in the same scenario. Station after the attack may lose confidential and proprietary information. After it is known publicly that the organization was under attack, it might lose business from the customers, which can be translated as financial loss. Reputation. Often it's not just an attack on an organization. The attack has many severe consequences for an organization, such as reputation loss. Not only the organization suffered from a breach, but it also has lost its credibility in the market. especially when a victim to the above financial loss vulnerability. So availability loss way to make your device or data unable for you to use. This can be done through different methods. Someone take your ownership of your data and denies access. Also be malware in this case. Uh, in case known as ransomware encrypts your mobile device and make your data inaccessible. You have to pay a ransom to get your mobile device encrypted by a threat actor. Even then, there is no guarantee that they will decrypt it. An example of this is WannaCry virus, which is 2000 WannaCry virus, which in 2017 affected multiple areas of UK national health system, which resulted to a huge loss of confidential data and money. Availability loss can be used with application servers. For example, if someone launches a DDoS attack against a web server, a web application will eventually be inaccessible to legit users. Now we will be proceeding on the lab assessment of determining security vulnerabilities review. Which of the following is known out of the box configuration? Which of the following code provides instruction to the hardware? Okay, so we have learned about determining security vulnerabilities. Let's click done. Stop the recording.